So we talk a lot about Angel Tree, and what is Angel Tree, and its connection to prison fellowship, and is it just about making sure a kid has a present, and that's a big part of it, but it's so much deeper than that. What is the impact? What's the ripple effect of having Angel Tree and this amazing ministry, this partnership that Celebrate Recovery has with an incredible ministry that is Prison Fellowship? Today we're going to talk with John Brennan, one of the directors with Prison Fellowship, a longtime advocate of Celebrate Recovery, and help us understand a little bit more what Angel Tree is all about and what's the impact, not just on the individuals receiving gifts, the kids of inmates, but the inmates themselves and the families that are at home caring for these kids. Today we're going to talk about it with John Brennan. Welcome to Celebrate Recovery Official, a podcast that shares life-change stories, courage, hope, and leadership wisdom, all centered around the Beatitudes of Matthew chapter 5 and the Celebrate Recovery principles, where Jesus helps us to face the events, the hurts that have come from those events and those hang-ups that cause havoc in our core beliefs and how we see ourselves, God, and others, and even our circumstances that may pull us into a space of confirming what we're believing. We call them habits, defenses, protections that always cause havoc on the others, leading us toward healing, new healthy truths, and new healthy practices and restored relationships. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with drugs and alcohol and perfectionism. My name is Rodney. I'm the Global Field Director of Celebrate Recovery, and so good to have you back with us again today. Thank you again, as always, for sharing this podcast. If you can take a second, give us a review and a high rating. I know that may sound silly, but it does help us reach more people, and we appreciate you taking the extra time to do that wherever you listen to this podcast. But I am really excited about today's conversation. A dear friend of mine, we go way back, probably a couple decades. My friend John Brennan, who is a part of Prison Fellowship and helps lead the Angel Tree mission, which we're going to talk about a little bit more today. But with that, John, introduce yourself. We'd love to hear from you.
I am a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with chemical dependency, sex addiction, family dysfunction, and the mental health effects that come along with being diagnosed with a terminal illness. And my name is John.
So glad you're here, brother. Well, we're actually at a training conference in Chicago, and excited to train and equip people. But man, just want to take an opportunity while we're here to talk about this incredible ministry. Prison Fellowship does so much, but specifically with Angel Tree and what happens with that and the partnership with Celebrate Recovery. I don't want to assume people know what Angel Tree is. Give me kind of a quick overview. What is Angel Tree for those that may not even know what that is?
You know, it's a great question. Angel Tree, basically what we do is we only serve kids whose parents are incarcerated. So we make sure that at Christmas time they get a gift, but it opens the door for ministry to happen throughout the year with that family. Doing that through the local church and inviting them into the regular activities that go on there. So it's not creating a new ministry or opportunity, it's increasing the opportunity that's already there.
Yeah, and I love that we have tags that say exactly their ages and all that. And I love just the idea of dad or mom that might be behind bars and this present coming from them, right? Where someone is buying that for them on the outside, wrapping it, throwing that tag on there, and it's as if it's coming from mom and dad or aunt, uncle, whatever family member. I love that, and our church has been doing it for several years in Northwest Arkansas, and I love the ministry, seeing the families, the impact as they come and pick up those gifts, man. So this can be easily kind of fall into just one more thing to add to the list of ministry opportunities and go do this. You've been doing this for a while now. I'd love for you to tell kind of your path to this part of ministry, but why does John do this? What is it that keeps you revved up and fired up to keep this mission going forward that is Angel Tree?
You know, we started back in, we had custody of 4 grandkids. The youngest was 3, the oldest was 9, and 2 boys in the middle that were 5 and 6. And we'd been in this house for about less than 30 days and had just moved in. We're painting and doing things. And we get a phone call. And the phone call was a lady on the phone, just a voice, and said, "Hey, we're from such and such a church. We're with Angel Tree. We've got some gifts for your kids." And I thought it was probably a scam because we'd been there less than 30 days. We're on the hit list. So about an hour later, here comes this couple walking up with 4 gift bags. One for each one of our grandkids. And the cool thing was that the kids saw the messages that were on the bags, and we got to read it to the 3-year-old, and it was from her dad. And it was a message from Dad to her. And it just really made an impact on her, but it made an impact on us. It kind of softened our hearts a little bit. And then we had to find out where this church was so that we could go find out more about the program. So we've been involved ever since December of 2001. So it's just been a great opportunity to find out how to help families know that there's hope and that they're not forgotten because of the sin of someone else.
So lots of families, lots of kids have been blessed by this. I want to talk about the need in a second, but any idea off the top of your head, I'm putting you on the spot here, but roughly how many kids have been impacted by getting these personalized messages with a gift from their family on the inside? What's the kind of the fingerprints? What's the impact? How many kids have been impacted, if you have any idea off the top of your head? I know it's a lot.
It is a lot. This last year, we served over 274,000 kids, nationwide, of course. And you can just imagine that this has been going on for almost 40 years. So there's been a lot of kids served by this. I wouldn't even have a guess of a number, but I would guess that it'd be in the millions. And with that being said, the number of children that are now coming back around because they were served by Angel Tree, now they're working in ministries like Celebrate Recovery. And I just met a lady upstairs, and she was sharing that she was an Angel Tree child. She's 44 years old. She was served when she was 9, and it still makes that impact on her.
Wow. Yeah, that kind of gives you goosebumps, doesn't it? Wow. So tell me this, man. So I know, 200,000 kids sounds like a lot, and that is a lot. Mm-hmm. But it just in conversations we've had, there's some that don't get taken care of. Mm-hmm. Not to guilt trip. We're not trying to manipulate, but to motivate. Mm-hmm. Sometimes understanding data and understanding the need can help us to know how we can be a part of what God's plan is, His kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. What's that look like as far as on a year-to-year basis? What do you see the number of kids that don't get that blessing of being able to have a personalized message from mom or dad or a family member that go without and during the Christmas season? Tell me what that need is. What's the need there, bro?
One of the great things is that we serve every child. Every child that has an application that comes from a parent or a loved one who's incarcerated, we make sure they get served. So they don't go unserved. The issue is that they're not being served by a local church. And that local ministry that could be walking with them through probably the most difficult times of their lives. So as they're reaching out to these families and making that connection, it's then an opportunity to open that door to further ministry throughout the year. So it's not just Christmas. Last year, I think I shared, we served over 274,000 kids. That's amazing. Right now, today, in the United States, there's 1.5 million children who have a parent who's incarcerated. So if you think about that number, we're serving less than 20%. It's a huge number. It's not anything to sneeze at or play down. It's a huge number, but we need more. And we just need more participation. So how can we, as Prison Fellowship, walk alongside the local church to help them see, number one, the need, but also help to address it and walk with them through the conversion of these families to say, you know what, here's hope. Here's an opportunity for you to find hope. Let's establish that in your church and your family, and then help us to see how we can walk with you through it. So it's not about just pushing it off to the side and saying, wow, that was a great experience. See you next Christmas. How do we send that birthday card to that child? We give you all the birth dates. How about reaching out to that caregiver that is in need of just that spiritual support, and they're not getting it? So how can the local church do that? Well, hey, there's a Bible study coming up for women. Let's invite those moms in. Hey, there's a Bible study coming up for men. Let's invite those aunts and uncles and fathers and those folks into that process. So we're not asking you, again, to create a new ministry. It's just supporting what you're already doing in the regular ongoing activities of the church. So it's an opportunity for them to see it from a different perspective. Opening everybody's eyes, taking the scales off of my eyes and your eyes so that we can work together to see what God has planned.
Yeah, and that's interesting, trying to keep that perspective. 1.5 million, you said, kids have parents or loved ones incarcerated. So you bring up an interesting thought, just to expand on that, what you just articulated really well, is these people's lives have been turned upside down, for circumstances that weren't their fault, right? They weren't their choices, but their loved ones that they care about and they love dearly. Now they, in some cases, grandparents are now taking care of children that weren't in their home initially, and so their home is kind of turned upside down, and we're trying to keep normalcy and structure in a family, which is really, really hard. And you bring up an interesting point, just the impact for those. We're blessing the ones on the inside by knowing, hey, we're taking care of your kids. But there is an added layer there in there of taking care of those that are on the outside that are carrying the weight of the responsibility, and just how can the church come alongside them? And I love how you said that. Don't go create something new. Go just bring them along to what you're already doing. What's some fruit that you've seen of that, John, of family members that maybe they weren't the child, or they weren't even on the inside, but they were part of the family system on the outside supporting the child while the loved one's in? Anything that comes to mind that would be an encouragement to those listening?
A couple of things. One I think is probably the most important piece is that someone acknowledged them. They got heard, and they were hurt, and then they were heard. And so I think those are two of the key elements that happen along the way. When a family member let's say that I'm in prison, you've got custody of my 3 kids, you've got a couple of kids at home as well, and we do Angel Tree camping as well, another aspect of what we do, and we scholarship the kids to go to camp. When we do that, we're going to give you a call. Hey, Rodney, would you like to send those Angel Tree kids to camp? And you say, you know what, John, that'd be a great idea, but I got 2 other kids at home, and I'm just afraid it might cause conflict. Why do you say that? Well, because they get to do something that my kids don't get to do. Well, Rodney, how old are those kids? Well, one's 7, the other one's 13. Awesome, let's send them 2, and let's scholarship them at the same level. So we're building that unity within the family instead of creating the chaos in the family. So we're trying to break the cycle of the chaos by creating that unity process.
That's beautiful. And there's no greater resource in the world than the local church, right? I mean, we're pointing people to Christ. We're trying to show them the love of Jesus. We're trying to show them to be the hands and feet of Jesus, right? What a great gift. And John, you've been in recovery for a while. In Principle 8, we talk about that a lot. The impact of living that out to show through our words and through our deeds, through our actions, that there is Jesus. He loves you. He sees you. He wants to be with you. What is it in your recovery? How does this impact John's recovery to do this? Because it'd be easy to kind of just make this the job, right? This is what I do. This is my vocation. But it feels, knowing you, I already know the answer to this, but I want our listeners to hear this. Why does John keep doing this? How does it impact your recovery, man?
I think the biggest thing is, number one, it brings reality into it. It brings humility back. in ways that I never thought were. I thought I was being humble, and then all of a sudden I wasn't. As soon as I've heard this said before, as soon as you start thinking you're humble, you're not. And so that's one of the pieces. This last year, my wife and I, we delivered the last of the gifts that needed to be taken out. And so we designated the Sunday before Christmas, and we were out driving the roads, and we have two gifts left. And so we went. My wife sets up a connection with these two ladies, and so we go to this one house, and this 13-year-old kid. I'm not a short guy, but he towered over me. And he comes to the door and a big smile on his face, and he says, "You're here from the church. You're with Angel Tree." And I said, "Yes, I am." He says, "Come on in. My mom's over here." And so here's Mom laid up on the couch with a broken leg. She couldn't come to get her gift because she couldn't drive. We don't know that until we go. So it reminds me that people have difficult lives. And sometimes it's easy to overlook other people's lives when we're so focused on our own. So it opened my eyes to that process. The other delivery, so I got a chance to pray with this lady. I mean, it was awesome. And the 13-year-old's on his knees next to us, and we're holding hands together, and just great prayer time. I leave, we get a text from the other lady, and we'd already tried to deliver her gifts. And turned out that, so she calls, or she texted Linda, and she said, "Hey, I'm sorry I missed your husband when he came to the door, but I'll meet him in the parking lot of the apartment complex." And I said, "Okay." So we drive up there, and we pull into the parking lot, and here she is, a young lady. And so she's kind of walking, not real resolute in what she was doing. And as she was walking towards me, you could just sense something. But I had three gift bags for her. And she says, "Mr. Brennan, I like to take all three, but I only need two." And I said, "Well, help me understand that." And she said, "Well, my 3-year-old and my 18-month-old are doing really good, but my 2-week-old died yesterday." How do we not know that story? They're not connected yet, but there's an opportunity there. How do we look at that story and say, "Well, that was a good delivery," without having a broken heart over it, and not knowing the trauma that she's going through as they're going through this process of autopsy and everything else, trying to figure out what happened. And she knows that God took her baby home, and she's okay with the fact that God took her home. She's heartbroken. She's traumatized by the process, but she sees hope. And then we get the chance to pray with her in a parking lot, and she's just in tears. And, what a great gift I get as a result of just simply being obedient to what God asked me to do, and that was deliver a gift.
So good, man. I want to take a super quick break, and we'll just continue the conversation with you, John, just hearing the impact. And I wish people could see your face when you're sharing these. I just see your heart, man, and just seeing the impact and knowing the blessing that you are to so many people, people that you've met and haven't met. The blessing just is extended. But take a super quick break, continue the conversation with John Brennan with Prism Fellowship, Angel Tree, and just the impact. And really, I would love to talk about how we can get more involved with that if someone's listening and Holy Spirit's tapping them on the shoulder. So when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Stick with me. Well, did you know that we have an online meeting? Maybe you need another meeting to be an additive, not to replace your local ministry, but to add to your extra meetings that you need during the week. We've got one every single Wednesday, noon Pacific. People from all over the world come together for open share groups, encouragement, connecting with people. If you need that and like to be a part of that, join us. All you got to do is go to celebraterecovery.com, find the link, and join us Wednesdays, noon Pacific. We hope to see you there this week. CelebrateRecovery.com for more information. Welcome back, guys. So continue the conversation with John Brennan. I hope you're blessed as I am, just hearing his heart and just these little micro stories, these little mini monies of God's fingerprints on hearts through the body of Christ, the church, through Angel Tree and Prison Fellowship. But John, if somebody's listening, struggling with, I'm just too busy, I've got so many other things going, how would you encourage them to maybe consider being a mouthpiece for this ministry? Maybe they're not physically doing it, but bringing it into the greater part of the church. We know Celebrate Recovery is all in on it, right? We know that Celebrate Recovery, there's more Celebrate Recoveries that could be even more in on it, right? I mean, we know that there's always a need in doing more as we can as a ministry, but how would you encourage the local church that maybe they don't even have Celebrate Recovery, right? But they're hearing what you're saying, and they want to be the hands and feet of Jesus to meet that woman on her couch with a broken leg, or losing that child at such just a tragic young age, to love on people, to use this as a conduit to help point people to Jesus. What encouragement would you give them in that space, John?
It's interesting you ask that. So this has been one of the ongoing conversations that I've been having with our team. My role is the National Church Recruitment Manager for Angel Tree and Prison Fellowship. And so my role is to go out and meet new churches and work with people. It's not, we have a great partnership with Celebrate Recovery. And it's a dynamic relationship, and it's built on the trust that we have with each other. And I think I know it started back with John Baker, and it has grown as a result. Just within Celebrate Recovery, we served almost 12,000 kids this year. Just Celebrate Recoveries, okay? Now, that's not including all the other churches and things that we work with. So when you think about what's possible, I think that's the picture. If a Celebrate Recovery church knows, and they're partnering with another couple of churches that they're partnering with, and the people from those other churches are coming to their Celebrate Recovery because the other churches don't have them, share it. Share the information, invite them into the process. Increase the number of kids so that those churches can now participate and take on a few more kids as well. So it's just spreading that wealth, and then also planting seeds of hope in them, knowing that they can reach their local community and those folks that are struggling as well. So it's not just about, hey, let's just do the Celebrate Recoveries. It's what churches there are out there. Talking to churches today that are, I'm sitting in a meeting upstairs and emailing churches and letting them know, hey, there's this thing going on, and it's called Celebrate Recovery. Have you thought about incorporating that into what you're offering at your church? So there's a reciprocation that's going on between what I do and what you guys do. So it's working both ways. The bigger picture for me is to help people understand that it's not denominationally driven. It's simply driven by the heart and the passion of people that know how to share hope and that faith and trust in God that they have. And it's letting God lead them to that next place. God opens the doors for me. I don't open the doors. God does. He shows me where to go. He tells me, here, John, it's kind of like that voice that happens in the middle of the night, and you go, here I am, or prayer of Jabez. Here I am, Lord, send me, expand my territory. And that's what I get to do. I get to walk into those territories that are brand new, looking for places where I can reach out into the community and know that there's an opportunity for someone to get the same experiences that I've had, and their hearts to be softened in the process.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think, and it just got me to thinking too, for those Celebrate Recoveries that are doing Angel Tree, typically we have done, the Celebrate Recovery leadership and the ministry will be a part of making sure those tags get fulfilled, and it becomes a great conduit. What would it be like for those of you listening that do that? And thank you if you're listening and your church already does this. Keep doing it. You are making a difference. But what would it be like if you invited your greater church into this experience? And here's what my ambassador mind goes to: how will that become, the church becomes an ambassador for Celebrate Recovery too? Because if they're ministering to people through Angel Tree, and they're able to talk about a ministry like Celebrate Recovery, they become these mouthpieces for you they see the impact. They see the heart, the difference in people's lives, these kids' lives, these families' lives. And in turn, they can say, and by the way, I'm learning about this ministry called Celebrate Recovery. I came in to help these kids, and I'm learning about this ministry called Celebrate Recovery, that this is a place for you to heal and grow too, that this is a low-hanging fruit for you. Yeah, you can come be a part of our Bible studies and all this, but great opportunity for you to be a part of this ministry that is Celebrate Recovery. So my ambassador mind kind of goes to that. But John, somebody's listening right now. And they're kind of on the fence. Maybe the Holy Spirit's kind of tapping them on the shoulder. Their heart rate is going up a little bit, going, God, are you talking to me? What would you say to someone that says, I didn't know that I could do that. Maybe should I? I don't know if I should. How would you encourage them to maybe jump into this process to be a part of this Principle 8 work, Step 12 work, of ministering to kids through Angel Tree and blessing these families? What word to encourage you? You have their ear right now. You're sitting over a cup of coffee. What do you say to encourage them, John?
Why not? That's the big question. Taking risk is part of what we do. We took a risk when we decided to become Christians. We took a risk when we walked in to Celebrate Recovery, sharing the garbage from our past and being able to lay that down. Why not take a risk and see what happens? What would happen if your church said, you know what, we'd like to do this, but we just don't have anybody to run it? Well, we got the Celebrate Recovery ministry. Why don't they take it on? We moved from Southern California to Illinois 13 years ago. And in that process, one of the things that we did, I went to our senior pastor and I said, we'd like to run Angel Tree here at the church. And he said, no, we're doing all these other things. And I said, don't worry about that. Celebrate Recovery will oversee it and run it. And he goes, be my guest. So that was issue number one. The second piece that happened, so we're over that hurdle, right? Next hurdle, how do we get the church involved? So we decided, okay, well, we'll just take a risk. So we took on 200 kids. Now, never done Angel Tree at the church before. We took on 200 kids. We had a large congregation, so we thought, okay, well, we'll be okay. So we had 5 services on the weekend, 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. And so we put out a lot of the things on Saturday. After the first service, what we put out was gone. And I thought, okay, we're going to have to stagger these through the next 3 services on Sunday. And so we didn't put any out for the second service on Saturday. And so we staggered them for the rest. And we were out of tags. I mean, just out, gone. And so people were asking, so when can we get more tags? Well, I didn't know that we could go back and get more kids. So I said, well, how would you like to volunteer delivering gifts? Yeah, we'll do that. Can our family do it? Absolutely. So we got the church involved, not because of a plan that John had, but a plan that God had. And we just listened. So the next year we decided, well, we'll bump it up and we'll take on 250 kids. Next year, 300 kids. Next year, 350 kids. The deal was that every year the tags were gone. And we had more volunteers than we knew what to do with. And the great thing was that we had an opportunity to continue to build on that in a way that only God could do. Because let me tell you, the glory goes to God, not to John and Linda for saying, yes, we'll do this, but to God because he orchestrated every step along the way and taught us ways to reach out and have others help us in the process. So we got the regular folks from the church now participating in a Celebrate Recovery run ministry that is just simply overseeing it and having an opportunity to share it with the church.
So good, man. Well, John, you're kind of describing what the church is supposed to be. Right, we're supposed to go out. We just wait for people to come to us. We go out and find those ministry opportunities. This is low-hanging fruit in a ministry lens, right? And so I'm so grateful for what you do, man, and grateful for the army of people through Celebrate Recovery and beyond that carry out this mission. It's making a difference. If somebody wants to get involved, what's the first step? Who do I call? Who do I contact? What do I do to get this in my church and get this thing running?
Easiest way is prisonfellowship.org. All one word, prisonfellowship.org. And you just go on that website and there's all kinds of details and information. There are resources on there where you can take and look at it as a church or as a group of people within a church or a small group and say, hey, let's look and see what we can do. All the information for the coordinator, there's a coordinator at each one of the churches, and that coordinator, we do background checks so we make sure that the kids are safe and the church is safe. And in the process of that, then they get assigned a certain number of children, whatever they sign up for. And the average church, average Celebrate Recovery is 47 kids, the average CR. The average church across the country is about 38. So it's an opportunity to know that that's the average when people start. And then they start building from there. So, yeah, we had big numbers, but the deal is we started smaller, and we started building up to that. And we took increments based upon who God is, not who John is. And so that helped us. The other part is, how do you get the rest of the church involved in a way that's tangible for them and gives them an opportunity to see what's happening? And what we asked them to do was do ride-alongs with us. Help us deliver these gifts. And so we took people out that had experience, taking people who had no clue what it was, and then realizing that when they got done and they're in tears saying, can we do this again? How do we get involved next year? So they're already seeing the impact of it. So instead of saying, look what I did, it's look what God did, and he used us to do it. And so just being grateful for that process.
Love that. prismfellowship.org if you'd like to learn more about that. And those are great ideas, John. John, thanks, man. I appreciate your heart, man. And we share a lot of years together when you were a regional director with Celebrate Recovery, and now God is speaking about expanding your territory. God is expanding it, and couldn't happen to a better guy. You and your sweet bride, Linda. I mean, you guys are amazing. Love you guys. And thanks for all you do, man. And thanks for this conversation. I know it's been edifying for my heart, and I know our listeners were blessed. I'm just grateful to have you here, man. Wow. John Brennan, I love you, brother. I just love his heart. I love how he, joy, the fruit of the Spirit just flows from his mouth, from his face, his heart. He loves the Lord. He loves Jesus. He loves Celebrate Recovery, and he loves Angel Tree. And what a great partnership we have with Prism Fellowship. If you're not jumped into this process of partnering with them, I hope you'll join us. You don't even have to have a Celebrate Recovery in your church to do that. But if you're brand new and you don't know anything about what we do, hey, go to crlocator.com and join a group near us and near you. We'd love to have you. Hey, thanks so much for joining me today. I pray that you'll join me next time. Until then, God bless you guys.